Hello Stratters, it's CreepEvee and we are back after our little detour into a discussion video. Of course, if you haven't seen it, it would be the last video that was posted from me on the channel, talking about the effect of reprints on the secondary market. It was a little bit different than what I normally do, but it seemed like people liked it. So maybe you could go back and watch it if you haven't watched it yet. Let me know what you think. Maybe you liked it, maybe you hated it, maybe you want me to go away forever. Who knows? But we are back to doing our regularly scheduled programming here. So I am a bit broke this week. This YouTube game ain't paying the bills like I'd like it to. But anyway, so I really wanted to do some Commander because seems like now that Dan is back, we've got a really heavy influx of Pauper videos. So I wanted to do some Commander, especially now with the C17 stuff. Finally up on Moto, I could finally get around to doing those videos that I've wanted to do for so long with those. But things are just a little bit tight this month. Well, this week. Things should be fine for the rest of the month. But anyway, so I was looking through what I already had on Moto, and I realized that every deck that I have on Moto has already been used in a video, except for one. And the reason why is because this is actually my personal Pauper deck that I have on paper. This is actually the first Pauper deck that I built when I first started playing Pauper. It's been modified a couple of times, and probably needs to be modified still with some new cards, but figured this would be a good one. I've been meaning to feature this deck. Maybe you guys will find it interesting. It's a weird one, and it's probably not the best way to build it. Obviously, very obviously, but I think it's a little bit interesting to play Tron in a little bit different way. Obviously, playing Rug Tron is not a completely foreign concept, but making it a little bit more gimmicky is. So this is the not great version of how you should play Tron. But anyway, we're going to take a look at it. So the idea basically is just to abuse the Tron lands and how freaking good they are in Pauper, especially in a little bit different ways. So the reason why I like this deck so much is I like decks that have multiple ways to play the game. With our inclusion of red, we obviously have some burn aspects. With green, we have our stompy aspects, as well as some life gain in the form of Fenrir Marauder. And with blue, we have our draw power and a little bit of control here and there, mostly in the side deck. So I like decks that can play in multiple ways, and obviously, sometimes you want to focus a little bit more on a particular way. It tends to make a better deck, but we are going to try to just abuse these Tron lands as much as we can. You could obviously include more colors, as most Tron decks that are built this way do, because you are running 4 prismatic, or prophetic prisms, should I say, going in a whole different direction, as well as the chromatic package there. So definitely some ways to do it. This is a deck that's stuck in between being Marasatron and then stuck in between being Affinity Tron. Obviously not the best deck in the world, but I wanted to show it off because it is the first Pauper deck I built, so thought it might be a little bit interesting to try it out. Over in the side deck, pretty simple stuff. We're just going to go with the Hydroblast and the Pyroblast, 2 of each. Just pretty much the way you want to run this color base, them being probably the best side deck package in Pauper, in my opinion. Have the Electrickeries in here for token matchups, as well as Boggles. Ancient Grudge for that always needed artifact removal, as well as Tranquility for our enchantment removal. I like to play at least two, usually 3, but I changed it up a little bit, Stone Rains for Tron matchups. I think that if you're playing red, you should have Stone Rain in your side deck. Tron is just such a powerful land package in this format, especially. So I feel like Stone Rain, some sort of not artifact removal, land removal, Very much appreciated in this particular Pauper format that we're in. Relic of Progenitus as the standard graveyard removal in Pauper, and then one Karavix Torch when you're playing against blue. So the reason why you use Rolling Thunder in the main deck is because Rolling Thunder can hit multiple targets and multiple creatures, but the Karavix Torch can only hit one target, so you've got to pick. Rolling Thunder just works a lot better in Pauper. You got a lot of small creatures that you can just board wipe with, right? So you have two of them so that you can do that or kill your opponent. Karavix Torch is your alternative because it costs 2 extra to counter. So if you're playing against counter heavy blue, which just about any blue is counter heavy, you want to side in your Karavix Torch. Makes things a lot easier on you. I guess I should state that the reason why Rolling Thunder is in here is because of the Tron lands. Generally, your win condition is to Tron land up an unholy amount of mana and then Rolling Thunder your opponent to death in one shot. It's generally the way you want to win, but obviously you have a few options. So that is the deck. Like I said, it is a deck that is very confused about what it wants to do. Kind of stuck in between two different archetypes, but mainly just focused on this Rolling Thunder combo. You're adding in some life gain and some consistency, as well as some draw power, and a little bit of stalling aspect with the blue to make sure that you get to your Tron lands as well as getting to your Rolling Thunder and then pulling it off. And of course, if you're playing Tron, you should always be playing Ulamog's Crusher, just one of, because you can draw into him very easily with this deck. You don't really want to see multiples because they clog up, but this is your other win condition, is Ulamog's Crusher. So I have a lot of good memories of playing this deck whenever I first got into Pauper, so I hope that you guys will find it interesting to watch a few games with it at least. But without further ado, let us go and do that. Alright, looks like we get to go first. And what do we do here? This hand is awful in so many ways, but I just love to see this many chromatics. There's so much temptation to keep this. I actually am going to, just because we're playing fast and loose today. We're playing fast and loose. Throw out the quicksand. When I first started playing Pauper, I really liked the one-of quicksand. Not so much now, but I still do feel like it has its place. But overall, let me turn down the volume there. Getting a little bit weird and wild there. Well, we do draw into our Urza's Mine. And I think we'll go ahead and get our Prophetic Prism out. Get the draw off of it. And pass it off to our opponent. Jungle Hollow, pretty scary because I'm thinking probably something of the Torex variety. Normally what you see whenever that Jungle Hollow hits turn 1, cycles the Ash Barrens. A card that is still far too expensive on Moto. Yeah, this is looking like Torex with that Vessel hitting the board. Alright, so we can filter our land now with Prophetic Prism, but I think we're just going to play a Fingraph. Probably shouldn't have in hindsight, but probably should have just waited. So let's make a red and cast Firebolt. See, should not have done that because I drew into the tower. So there is a reason why I play the Firebolt over a Lightning Bolt. And the reason why is because this is a deck that wants to play a long grind game, which means that the ability to flash back the Firebolt becomes a lot of value later on. So I don't know, personally I just feel like it can work out a little bit better if your deck is grindy. Obviously if you're playing, you know, mono red burn, it's awful, but I do think that it has its merit in a grind deck. Spore Frog, alright, well we are starting it off well here. Looking like Torex is gonna be Torex. Well, I'm gonna play a tower and tap, playing a star, and then tap, playing another star. And I'm gonna hold off on the Mole Drifter for now. May come to regret that, but I have this really terrible habit where I don't like invoking Mole Drifters. It's a terrible habit that I have, but it's a habit that I have nonetheless. Interested to see that planes. I just realized that that hit the board. So this could be Torex with the that one white enchantment that I can't remember the name of. I think we'll just let that happen. I don't really see the need to use the quicksand this early. Let's tap, play Prophetic Prism, and draw a card. Getting another tower, that's unfortunate. So we'll plan on invoking the Mole Drifter. We'll start tower into blue, if I can find the blue. This will give us a draw, giving us another chance to possibly find something. Considering that we have the stirrings now, I don't really want to crack another of our chromatics because we are playing, what do we call him? Finger Marauder. And the amount of life gain that you can generate with him is pretty crazy. A remote isle and a crusher. I think we're going to take the crusher here. And we'll just put those on the bottom in any order. I don't think that's going to matter too much. So now we're in a little bit of a predicament because we're not going to be able to do anything with that blue mana. But we'll just pass and let that go. Playing another tower. Hopefully we can get to a power plant is the one that we are lacking. So, for those of you who are curious, and I realize that this is a straw man statement because I doubt any of you are, but CreepEvee, how did you decide on this deck to be your first Pauper deck? Well, I was working at a card shop at the time, and my birthday was coming up, and I had my store discount, so I wanted to treat myself to some kind of gift, you know, a little something to treat myself with. There is the Torex. That's going to make things a little bit interesting. But I wanted to treat myself for my birthday. I had my store discount, and I was processing a collection that we had just bought, and I had to go through it. What all did I have to do with it? I should find my words. Alright, well, we do have enough to go ahead and go straight for the legit Mole Drifter. I will go ahead and crack this for it, though. Getting to a Firebolt, that doesn't help much. Cast the Mole Drifter. Draw 2. I guess we'll just play the Mine. Tap it. Prophetic Prism or red. And then Firebolt. And I'm actually just going to target my opponent because the Spore Frog is just value for him when it goes to discard. So I wanted to treat myself, and I was processing it, and it was my responsibility to go through, put everything into our system. That way we kept up with what cards we had. And we had a full play set of the original Antiquities printings of the Tron lands, and it was all of each of them was the 4 different arts for them. And I was just like, this is so pretty. It's my birthday today. I have my store discount. This is what I'm going to go for. So I decided to buy it, and then I was like, okay, what do I do with it? Because I was kind of like new to Magic at the time, and I was like, okay, well, this is used in Modern, and then I looked at the price of Modern decks, and I decided that I wasn't going to play Modern. But so I was browsing around online. I was like, what do I do with these things? And that's how I discovered Pauper. And I got really into it, and now I'm here making videos for you guys. So that is story time with CreepEvee. Meanwhile, my opponent dropping the Tilling Treefolk, which means that things are going to get a little nasty for us. I'd like to play Torex on the channel because it's a card that a deck that I'm planning on building anyway, so it might be interesting to play. Of course, I'm currently building the red-white exert deck that I've featured on here. Just got a few things I need to grab for it to finish it off. I just love that deck, so fun. I guess if you're unfamiliar, I'll quickly go over what Torex does when my opponent is deciding what to do. So you pay 1 black, discard a creature, and return a target creature from your graveyard to your hand. So you're going to use cards like Spore Frog, where you can ditch him to prevent damage. So your opponent, well, we're not going to be able to do damage that turn, and then he can just discard something and get Spore Frog back. He can do the same thing with cards like Tilling Treefolk, and as well, he wants to get to the one creature that I cannot remember the name of. It's a green creature with Dredge. Whenever it is moved from graveyard to hand, I believe is what it is. So intended to be Dredge, but we don't have to use Dredge, I guess would be the best way to explain it. Ideally, their original card design was you'll use Dredge, but of course Magic players, never content to play the game the way they're supposed to, decided to abuse it with a card like Torex, which still technically is moving from the graveyard to your hand, so it counts. And you gain 3 life, I believe, is the trigger for that. So definitely a lot of value. The expedition map, not a ton of value for us. Not this turn, at least. I guess we'll go Tower Expedition map. And then drop a tower. Not going to be enough for us to search. I think we'll just hold back our Mole Drifters. Don't really see a reason to get extremely aggressive yet, but we are going to have to be aware of the fact that our opponent is going to use that combo to generate a lot of life. And there we go. Golgari Brown Scale returns from hand to graveyard. I guess he milled it earlier, but that is going to be his idea. We also have cards like Grave Scrabbler is going to work really well because you have Madness. So you can pay the black to discard it, and then when you discard it for that effect, you can pay its Madness costs and summon it that way. And then Caustic Caterpillar, another good card for this deck. You can sack it, destroy an artifact or enchantment, like he is most likely going to do here to our expedition map. And then once you sack that, then you can just get it back with Torex and just continue this. So if you are a commander player and you have played Marin, then you've played this deck. Which means that you've had a lot of fun with it. So I'm going to move into combat first here. Let's go ahead and deal 2. This is a deck that obviously has room to play black kill spells, so I'm just gonna throw it at him now and see what he thinks, and then we'll go into our main 2 with that in mind. So I'm just gonna use the Prophetic Prism. I do want to keep some of our chromatics for if we can ever draw one of our oh, he has a name. What is that name? Fangrim Marauder. That is the name of that card. I know I keep mentioning him if you don't know what he does, because he does not see nearly as much play as he deserves to see. in Pauper. I think he's one of the better cards in Pauper, in my very, very humble opinion. But whenever a artifact goes to the discard, you gain 5 life. That includes your opponent as well. So if your opponent is playing an affinity deck, then you are in luck. So let's drop a chromatic sphere. And I guess we'll just drop. The mountain for a color. And I guess we could try using one of our firebolts. Oh yeah, it's 5 flashback cost. It's a lot, but like with this deck, generally once you get your Tron online, like we're struggling to do right now, you can pay that cost very easily. So it works out pretty well for you. Just another reason why I feel the value is important. Also, if you're wanting to use the firebolt for creature removal, there aren't a whole lot of creatures in Pauper besides, like, obviously some of the creatures that we're staring down right now, but a lot of creatures you don't need to deal 3 damage to kill. The 2 damage is enough to kill. So with this, I can potentially kill 2 creatures instead of the lightning bolt that kills 1, along with the fact that it's a grindy game. Obviously, if you're not trying to play a grindy game or you're not generating a bunch of mana with a Tron land, then I would definitely advise going for the proper choice, being a lightning bolt. I feel like that's going to be the entirety of this deck, is trying to justify the mistakes that I made in the early days of playing Pauper. I'm kind of fine with blocking with the Muldrifter here because we do have the Haunted Fingraph out. We can get it back because it looks like that's probably the best thing that we can use our mana on, except for this Ulamog's Crusher, which I'm probably going to cast next turn. Let's see, we got 4, actually at 8 now. I still think that we made the right decision trying to dig for another Tron piece last turn. But now, without a Muldrifter already in hand, I think it's time that our Ulamog Crusher hits the board. I'm desperately trying to remember the name of that white enchantment that I think he is playing. Okay, let's go right ahead. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Dropping the bad boy himself, Ulamog's Crusher. This card is so good in Pauper for so many reasons. Except it is often the target of kill spells, the #1 target of kill spells. I guess we'll drop another tower. We've got a pile of them at this point. If we draw the power plant, like, I'm bad at math, but I think we could at least be quite close to winning the game if we draw it. So now my opponent can, of course, he can wipe the board of these 2 Muldrifters using the Crypt Rats, but he will not be able to get rid of my Ulamog's Crusher, right? So, feeling pretty good. So now let's assume I draw into the power plant, which means 2 mana. So that's going to be 2 mana there, 6 altogether. This would be 12, 18, 19, 20, and then this would be 21. So we can deal 19 with the Rolling Thunder if we draw a power plant, which will win us the game. Core Skyfisher, bouncing back the swamp, playing the swamp. That's interesting. Splashing the white gives you access to Core Fisher, Core Skyfisher. I always end up calling him Core Fisher. But getting access to him also being one of the best cards in Pauper. It's interesting. Does actually work really well with Torex, considering that you can bounce something and discard it. our opponent has not done a whole lot of the Torex Brown Scale combo. Kind of surprised by that. Goes for the Stinkweed, another Dredger. Alright, well, we get our Finger Marauder, finally. He has eluded us for so long. So here is my line of thinking. Let us generate a green. And then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to cast Finger Marauder. So I'm going to go straight ahead and get him, and now I'm going to start sacking our little guys here to try and dig for something. We'll just go ahead and go with the green. So we'll make Finger and go first on stack. So now we can draw Finger and triggers, gaining us 5. Pretty sure it's 5, right? Yes, it is 5. So you can see just how good this card is, but now like we're just so close to being able to straight up win the game if we draw into it, right? Let's crack for blue, maybe. Alright, this is the card that I wanted. I mean, obviously I want a power plant, but Ancient Stirring's quite helpful in getting to the power plant right there. We actually could have gotten the expedition map, but we wouldn't have been able to get to power plant this turn, which is what we want. So now we have lots of fun things we can do, namely play another Finger Marauder, which I think is our best course of action. But all of that being said, time to well, we don't want to actually swing there because he has blockers, but I think that Crusher will be fine here. So we made a board for sure. My opponent, of course, can Crip Rats, but he's gonna need to Crip Rats for quite a bit to really hurt me at this point. If he wants to try to put together the mana to Crip Rats for 8, just to get rid of the Crusher, you know, albeit to him. But Annihilator triggers, he goes for the Spore Frog and the Tree Folk. And then, oh yeah, that thing has Death Touch. Well, at least we got the Annihilator trigger. Still worth it, really, in my opinion. I'm not lying about that to try to sound okay with things. Given our position right now, as in we are going to win the game next turn, unless my opponent has land destruction, is really the only way out of it that I can think of. Then we're gonna be good. So getting a couple things off the board seems fine. In fact, Spore Frog is any kind of damage, right? No, it's combat damage. Okay, so then Spore Frog can't even stop us at this point. Now our opponent doing the Torex shenanigans, getting himself back up to 19. Quite impressive, but not impressive enough. We have this in the bag as long as our opponent does not drop down, oh, what is that? What is that black card that's land destruction, destroys a non-basic? But outside of that, I just don't see him being able to deal 23 to us this turn. I'm kind of torn here. Like, I really don't want to become overconfident. But at the end of the day, Well, I probably should have blocked, because he's most likely just going to try to Crip Rats me to death. Well, to Crip Rat my board to death, rather. Goes for the Tilling Tree Folk. So it looks like not this turn. Gets a Bajuka Bog. That's a card that we're going to have to keep in mind. Because we do have flashback cost things in this deck. Quite a few of them, actually. Plus our Haunted Fengraf there loses a little bit of value. Well, my opponent does go ahead and get that in, but unfortunately he is tapped down now, and we're going to generate a lot of mana and go for 20. So click the creature, yeah. Trying to remember how Moto does this. I have messed this up in the past. Wait a minute, what? Is it doing it for 1? Okay, well our opponent luckily scooped before he realized how much of a mistake we had made, but apparently I Rolling Thundered for 1 there. That's painful. So we're going to try to make sure that we don't do that next turn, well, next game. So let's pull in our relics. And enchantment removal. I hate to have to use this 3-drop for enchantment removal against this deck. I really should consider trying something else instead of Tranquility. Just if you can resolve Tranquility against Boggles, it's just so devastating for them. The question is, what comes out? And the answer is probably a couple of these Firebolts, because his creatures can recover from this very easily since he's recycling them. Especially whenever they're only dealing 2. And he's got that Bajuka Bog, so our flashback is going to be a little bit weakened. So I think we can go down at least 2 of these. Maybe not 2 of these, like maybe just 1. And then go down 1 Flame Slash, because as I said, creature removal not going to help us too much, except for like the only thing that I really see me wanting to directly remove would be a what is the name of that card? Angler. I'd want to get rid of Angler. Our opponent did say GG there, but alas, a Flame Slash will not kill off an Angler. Well, we're 1 Tron piece away from Natural Tron, and we are opening up with an Expedition map. I'd like to have better cards around that, but as a Tron player, you can't deny 2 Tron lands and an Expedition map. I really wish I could remember the name of that white enchantment, because I'm assuming that's what we're up against here. Drop the Expedition map. Now with black, our opponent does have access to a land removal spell, but it's very rare to see it in the side deck, especially whenever you're playing 2 other colors that you could potentially have access to things with. I just don't foresee that being the route that he's going. So we should be safe in that department, but you know what they say about assuming. Just like he assumed that I actually knew how to click for Rolling Thunder. I really don't know what I did wrong there. I thought you selected and then chose the amount of damage. we will definitely take our time and make sure that that resolves properly next time we do it. Hopefully we'll be doing it again. Let's crack the expedition map. We want to mine, correct? Yes, we want to mine. I don't know how I feel about these arts for the Tron lands. I'm just so accustomed to using the others that they seem a little bit weird to use, right? Alright, so we're going to go here, play a sphere, and then I want to crack this for blue, and cast Deep Analysis with this. See what we can get out of this. Deep Analysis, another card that I like in a grind scenario. I've moved away from it in my deck building since then, but I still like it. I think it's still worth considering. We're now at 8 cards. We're going to have to discard something. Not quite sure what I want to discard. Probably the basic island. Kalani Garden is another card that I've kind of gotten away from in my deck building, but still good, especially this deck. You're taking time to set up, and of course you do need a green source. Everybody needs a green source. So if you can open up early game with this and drop it, you have the token to kind of slow down your opponent. If you're playing against a very fast deck, I think there's value to it. Again, spending a lot of time justifying bad choices that I made in decks before. Not that they're bad choices, there's better ways to do it. Another funny thing about the Tron lands, I now use them in one of my modern decks, which utilizes the Tron lands in an absolutely terrible way. It's not a good deck, but so now I have to flip in between them. If I'm playing in a Pauper tournament, I have to put them in. I have to put the Tron lands in those sleeves because as we established in the opening of this video, money is tight in the CreepEvee. The CreepEvee coffers, not much in there, so CreepEvee cannot afford to have 2 play sets. If I've already got 1 play set, I don't need another play set. I guess we'll go straight for the Mole Drifter here. Again, this deck just has a tremendous amount of draw power. I like to draw cards. It's one of my favorite things to do in card games in general. I'd really like to get to them if... There we go. Get that draw 2 magic going on there. Well, I think I know what we're going to do here. Let's go star. Crack star for green. Draw a card. Cast Ancient Stirrings. Getting a Prophetic Prism, because more card draw is always good to have. Unfortunately, as much as I'd like to just drop it this turn, I don't want to have to discard hand size anymore, so let's just go ahead and get these stars out of our hand. And then I think we will pass the turn. Another thing that we have to consider is that our opponent is going to have access to the circles of protection. So a circle of protection red could be a problem for us. So now that I think about it, if we do see those and we go to game 3, probably going to want another Tranquility if we see that our opponent is side decking them. If I were him, I probably would, but I don't know what all else he might be prioritizing as far as his matchups. So don't like to make too many assumptions about my opponent's decks. A healthy amount is always good because you do want to have reactive plays, but you also don't want to overthink things sometimes. It is a careful balance, a delicate line that we tread here. Let's go for green. Cast Ancient Stirrings. Getting a Remote Isle, I guess. Just because we can draw cards with it, right? How much is it to cycle this? This is 2. I opted to go with the colorless cycle versions of the cycle lands with this deck, considering that we're playing the Tron lands. So we could, I don't know what we could do. More of a what should we do. I guess we can go Prism. I'm also trying to think back and figure out why I have 2 foil prisms and 2 non-foil prisms. Another Mole Drifter. Always finding your way into my hand these days. Well, I guess we'll go Power Plant. I don't want to use up a star for a couple of reasons. One, I do want to save a little bit of the star magic for whenever we get to a Fangren, and also I don't want to draw too many cards and be forced to discard to hand size again. It's never a fun thing to do. We do have our Deep Analysis that I would very much like to cast, but I'm going to come up just short. Could just... Actually, I think we'll do this. I'm going to crack this for red. A little nervous about cracking these this early, but there is our Finger Marauder reminding us that we should have waited. I guess we'll just pop the Tilling Tree Folk. Our opponent does not yet have his Thorax on the line, so he might not get a lot of value out of it at this moment. Let's swing with Mole Drifter and see if he wants to spend the Spore Frog to save 2. Not really a betting man, but I'm going to say no. If we can get this Fangren out safely, that's going to be a game changer for us, I think. We definitely want to get more of our chromatics. We've already burned several of them. Of course, we do have things like Expedition Map that we can use as well. Blockity block with our Mole Drifter. I remember one time I almost took this deck apart because I was so frustrated because I could not find anybody to play Pauper with at the store that I was working at. And it's still in my area kind of hard to find players, but we did get a little Facebook group going and everything that hopefully will get more people together. I really wish that Pauper would become more popular. I just don't ever see Wizards really doing too much to promote it. And obviously it's on MTGO. I just see that probably being the extent of support from Wizards itself, but could be completely wrong, and they could be, you know, organizing a major for Pauper you know, that they're going to announce tomorrow. Could be wrong, but just does not seem to be in the cards, if you will. So let's go green, and then cast our Fenrir Marauder. This is just such a fun card to draw into against an affinity deck, because they just grind to a halt because they don't know what to do. Understandably, they don't know what to do. Let's crack the star for red. No, let's get it for green. And we'll just let these triggers resolve normally. I'm going to always yield to this. I don't know why I haven't already done that. And we'll always yes. I don't think sanguine, or no, it's not that. Whatever the card is that makes it to where you take damage when you would have gained it, or lose life whenever you would have lost it, or gained it. I don't know what am I trying to say? Let's crack the map. And not really sure what we want to get here. Could get a cycling land. I guess we're... Oh yeah, I only have one in this build. I was thinking I had another one. So I guess we'll just get a tower. Yeah, and we already had Haunted Fenrir in hand. So let's go tower. I'm going to turn this blue. And then deep analysis is 1 and 2. Target myself, I should say. Draw 2. All land. Full hand of land. Where is our... oh, what is the card in Modern that you use to go all out with land? You play it in Ad Nauseam. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's how you finish your Ad Nauseam combo, I think. We're getting low on time, so I don't see either of us being able to go into a game 3. We do have the game ender in hand, so let's tally up. Okay, goes to prevent the damage. Okay. So let's assess where we're at here. Almost discarded that. That would have been tragic. We'll discard and discard. So we're at 6, 10, 14. So it means we can do 12. That is not enough to viciously murder our opponent. We're very fortunate that he has not gotten to a Torex yet. I'm going to let this go through. I don't want to sacrifice our Fenrir Marauder over 5 life, considering that Fenrir Marauder can more than save 5 life. This was Stinkweed Imp. The card that tragically messed us up. Well, almost messed us up last time. What do we do here? What does our graveyard look like? Here's a Mole Drifter in there. So let's go Fingraph. This is 3, right? Okay. We only have 1 creature in our discard, so we know what we're getting. Getting the Mole Drifter. And then we'll turn this into blue. And then tap here, cast Moldrifter. Boom, boom, boom. We draw a card. There's our Seagate Oracles. They have not been showing up. So I'll tap here, make another blue. Cast a Seagate Oracle. Have one floating and see what we can get off of this Seagate Oracle. We can get a Moldrifter. I think that's what I want out of that. Ultimately doesn't do anything for me this turn. I guess we, I mean, if he wants to trade a Moldrifter for a Stinkweed Imp, I think I'm fine with that. This is a good trade. I think, at least. I mean, it's not like I'm trading a Blue Eyes White Dragon for a Karibo. Depending on the printing, Karibo can be worth a little bit of money, though. Not that I know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh! I would never play such a tragic game. Discard Seagate, discard mine. Not to mock any of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Players out there, I jest, of course. I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I totally don't anymore. I never play Yu-Gi-Oh! Anymore, except I do, but I recently got back into it. I'm enjoying it so far. I've been thinking, like, Tilling Tree Folk might actually work in this deck as well. And then, of course, this deck hasn't been upgraded since Ash Barrens, but I don't play enough basics to warrant an Ash Barrens. Clears off all of our Moldrifters. Do I want to trade here? I really don't want to. We get a map. That works out pretty well for me because I can gain some life. We get 5 life, so we're right back up to where we were. We'll grab a tower. This prevents combat damage. I know I keep saying that as if I'm learning something new. So let's turn something into blue. Go here, casting Moldrifter. If I remember to click that, I always click it thinking I can just click that and we're done. Alright, that doesn't help us. This kind of helps us in a way where it totally doesn't. So we'll sack this for red. At this point, I'm willing to make a couple of not so great plays in the name of actually not going over time and losing. A relic, that sounds pretty good to me. I'm actually going to force him into sacking the Spore Frog here. I guess it's not really a force, but encouraging him to do it. And then pay for relic. And then I'm going to go ahead and activate it. That way I can see what I can draw off of this. We can play the tower, tap it, get a green out of it, cast Ancient Stirrings. We'll get a tower, put that back in any order, and we'll pass the turn. Yeah, we'll pass the turn. Nothing really for us to do here. So now we have to plan on trying to blow our opponent out next turn. Normally this is a situation where we could continue to grind, but given our circumstance currently, we're in a position where we don't exactly have the liberty to grind. My opponent, while not as far behind on time as I currently am, is running low on time, so if he is to get to a Torex and try to do all of the brown scale fun stuff, which he now has loaded in Grave, he is going to struggle on time to make that happen. Whoa, what does this guy do? Oh man, this means he gets rid of you. Okay. And I think all of our burn spells are gone. So we may just be out of the game at this point. Unless we draw into our other Rolling Thunder, which I'm pretty sure, if I remember the way that we've been putting things on the bottom, is pretty low back there. But I can't remember exactly. So going into main 2, we just drop this and pass. That's all we can do. This is an issue now. I think we're going to have to do a lot of swing and pass. That is the best card he could have possibly gotten to, is the Mesmeric Fiend. Trying to remember, I guess we could look. I'm just afraid to like look and waste time. Firebolt, the Flame Slash. There are still Firebolts left in the deck, so we can get to those and use those. Okay, so we have our Chromatic Sphere, which unfortunately is going to use a lot of time considering the number of clicks that I'm going to have to go through. But we will gain some life there. Cast the Prism. We've just about gone through our entire deck at this point. We get to a power plant. And we swing here and here and pass. So now have all 4 of our prisms out now. Very interesting. This is one of my favorite things about this deck. Is just look how many cards we've gone through. We're at 12 cards in our deck right now. Okay, how do I do this stop skipping action thing? Okay, there we go. So, can we win here? That is not the question. The question is whether or not he has another one. Because I feel like, personally, if he's willing to sack this one... Oh, I see. And by see, I mean I can't see. So we'll put in 16. Alright. My point is, I was worrying that he may have another Mesmeric Fiend that he plans on spending, and then that is how he would recover. So the idea was go straight for it now. There is the Torex. We are at 4 seconds. I just realized that. So we have lost. He can now do a lot of Golgari Brownscale shenanigans. We came so close. There's the Carrion Feeder. There's the Mesmeric Fiend. Just going to be able to take a Tranquility away from us. Oh, I guess he stacked that right. Oh, okay, I see. That's cute. Well, we can manage to click 2 mines. But that was cute. So basically the way he did that is Mesmeric Fiend is resolving, so he will be picking the card, but Carrion Feeder eats it. So Mesmeric Fiend resolves from discard. It says that I get the card back when it leaves the field. So it's resolving from discard, so it's not going to leave the field. So because he's doing that all in that order, I've now lost it until it leaves the field. It's not on the field to leave the field, and therefore I don't get my card back. Very cute. I like that. Very smart to bring in. I assume the Mesmeric... Normally you side the Mesmeric Fiends. At least a couple of them. Very good choice against our deck, considering that it's very combo based, right? But this was interesting. Like I said, I have not gotten to play this deck in quite a while, actually. So this was fun to go back and revisit it, and obviously we're going to have some more videos with this deck later this weekend. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. And again, this deck is not like perfectly competitive viable as it is, right? It's my first attempt back in the day. This was years ago, okay? But I like to think that I've grown and become a better deck builder since then, but I am having fun going back and looking at this guy here. Did make a couple of quick changes to it before I started the video, but that was just the side deck, I think. But this is fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this little flashback for me, I guess. Like I said, we'll have more videos of it, but man, the timer, you're playing against... Torex is the most grindy deck in Pauper, really, and I'm playing an extremely grindy deck. So you can't say that it was just me, because our opponent was down to less than 2 minutes left on his timer, so it was not just me this time being slow. But of course the timer, always my enemy, but we did get our opponent down to 4 there, so in tournament, us going into time would have been a win for us, I believe, but that's how it rolls on Moto. But I've rambled enough about a failure, so let's jump straight into the shilling. If you like the video, a like shows a lot of support for us here at Magic Gathering Strat. And of course, subscribing to the channel means that you get to see all of my videos as well as all of our other wonderful content creators here. Of course, we got Dan back making videos. He's making 1,000 Pauper videos a day here. I can't keep up with how many keep popping up on my feed, but they're all very wonderful. I like to think that mine are okay, so you get to see all of those. But if you also want to check out my YouTube channel as well as my Facebook page for my channel, those will be in the description, so you can check those out. With the Facebook page, I update it whenever I'm looking for matches on MTGO for videos, as well as when I post videos to my channel, as well as the ones that I post here, so it's all in one place for you. Makes it nice and convenient if you like the things that I do. So all of those wonderful buttons that you can click, we hope that you click them because they're fun buttons to click. Anyway, all of that being said, we've rambled and rambled and rambled, but I will see you guys in the next video.